So welcome everyone to this very special Wednesday call. Oops, before that, I'm going to mute all of you. I'm going to mute everyone, but I am going to unmute Kristen. Kristen, I have to ask to unmute. It won't let me automatically unmute you. So there we go. Perfect. Thank you. So everyone, thank you so much for being here. I am super honored to introduce Kristen. She has become such a great friend to me, and I get emotional because I just love her so much. And I'm so excited for all of you to meet her, for those of you who don't know her yet. So just to give you a little bit about Kristen, she has dedicated her entire life to rescuing and caring for some of the most extraordinary animals on this planet. She is the founder of the Care Foundation, a sanctuary she founded in 1996 to provide a safe haven for exotic and wild animals that had nowhere else to go. And she has worked hands-on with everything from big cats, venomous snakes. She has 27 state licenses, including those for handling venomous snakes. And sorry, I did a typo there. Sorry about that. But she has a passion for giving animals a second chance at life. And on a more personal note, Kathleen met someone who arranged for Kathleen to teach level 1 and level 2 at Care. And since that time, we have been going to Care. So that was 2011. And this year I'm going to be going in October, and it's 2024. The only year we missed wasn't 2020. We actually went right before COVID hit, but we missed 2021. But other than that, we've been going. And so I'm super excited for Kristen to share a lot about you. Now, just so you know, Kristen's very shy. She doesn't like doing these type of things. So it's going to be like pulling teeth, I'm sure, a little bit. So just be patient with us in this interview process. So welcome, Kristen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm shy, huh?
Well, it's not like you're shy. You're just like, oh, okay, I got to talk about myself. I got to talk about how awesome I am. You don't like to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of weird for me.
Yeah. So, but we're going to talk about how awesome you are.
It's all an illusion.
Pardon?
It's all an illusion.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't at all. So like Karen knows you, Kelly knows you, I know you. We've been at Care many times, but other people may not know. So will you just tell them a little bit about how you got started, like way back when?
Yeah, way back when. I've always had kind of odd animals and everything. And so I originally wanted to be a veterinarian, but I suck at math, to be totally honest. So I knew that was going to be a very big problem. So I wanted to find a different way, a different avenue. And I don't know if you guys ever remember Joan Embry. She used to be on Johnny Carson a lot. I'd actually sneak up in the middle of the night to watch her on TV. She did the education with wild animals and everything. So that kind of directed me from the veterinary to wanting to do education. So it kind of got started in that way. And then I started working in various areas with different people that had animals, different types of animals. Ended up working with an ex-circus trainer, and that was an interesting experience, to say the least. Anybody that doesn't know, the old-time European trainers, they were all men, and they were all very heavy-handed. So he and I had some interesting clashes because I didn't believe that it had to be done that way. And at one point with a lion, I actually proved him wrong, and that caused more clashes. But that's when I learned to work from my instinct, from just reading the situation and like you say, being the present. So that's that was the start of working the big cats. So, but it was an interesting situation, and it was not something a woman was supposed to do.
Well, that was another thing you were up against, right? Because you were a woman in a man's world.
Exactly. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. There was a guy that was a rival of the guy that I was working with, and he offered me a job. And I think it was mainly just to get me away from the other guy and all. But when he was asking me for my qualifications, the first thing he asked was if I could cook. And I'm like, right away, I'm like, yeah, this is probably not somebody I want to deal with. And it just went downhill from there. So.
Oh my God, so bad. So then from there, from training the big cats, where did you go after that?
After that, I worked at Jungle Adventures, a little place, a little wildlife place. And yeah, that was kind of interesting because I went on a job interview there and never worked with venomous, never worked with gators. The guy says, well, come in, watch a show, see what you think. And my entry level to that was after the show, he says, you think you got it? And I said, yeah, it was a great show. And I understand how this works. And he says, good, because you're doing the next show. So yes, I was thrown into the big gators, and I'm talking about 11, 12-foot gators that locked me onto a dock, and they had to call the farm guys to get them to back up because, yeah, I was not taught anything about that. Then I had to do a venomous show. I had never worked venomous before, and so that was interesting. So that was my entry level to other animals other than big cats. So yeah, it was fun.
So from that, is that how you got interested in doing? Because I know you have your venomous snake licenses, and there are not very many people in the United States that have those. So is that how you kind of got into reptiles and snakes and things like that?
Yeah, well, actually, I always loved gators. Like from the time I was little, I'd go to the Philadelphia Zoo, and my favorite exhibit was the gator exhibit. So I've always loved gators, always wanted to work with gators and all. The venomous was like I said, thrown on me, but it was something I could do. And when I got my venomous permit, I was one of the only females that had it because I was kind of like a freak, kind of a freak of nature there. But yeah, it was just something that I was still working with them at that point. And the funny thing was, I don't know if you know about Travis. I mainly worked the Florida native snakes. That was my thing. That's what I learned in the show and everything. Travis came along and worked cobras and stuff. So it kind of worked out. He didn't work the Florida native stuff as much. So we kind of like taught each other the different. So that was how that all started and that chaos. But yeah, that's working at Jungle Adventures. I kind of branched out with several different species at that point.
Wow. And so for those of you who don't know, Travis is Kristen's partner, and you might see him. He's going to bring a friend in a little while, but that's amazing. So how did this lead you to start CARE?
Well, actually, I didn't plan on starting a nonprofit. That was kind of an accident. That's where I was led. Um, in working with a circus trainer, we used to take some big cats into schools and things like that. And the kids were all amazed, but they weren't learning a whole lot. And then working at Jungle Adventures, I worked with more Florida native animals. And at that time, I had also gotten a raccoon, a Florida panther, some of the native stuff. And I didn't see anybody doing any education in schools with Florida native animals. And here in Florida, we have a very unique environment. Basically, anything can survive here pretty much. So we have reptiles of all different kinds, mammals of all different kinds. You all have heard about the monkeys, I'm sure, running loose and iguanas everywhere and Burmese python everywhere and all that. So I kind of decided that there need to be education on stuff that children can run into in their backyards. So that's basically how CARE got started. At that time, it wasn't a nonprofit. It was called Cat Quest. And yeah, we started out with just Florida native animals and taking them to schools and libraries and teaching about if you run into them, about what's endangered, what's threatened, you know, what makes a good pet, what doesn't. And it just kind of went from there. And then shortly after we started doing the school and library programs, people started dumping ex-pets on us. One of the first ones besides the raccoon was a big cat, was a cougar panther mix. And so I got her. She was totally out of control, 60 pounds. And yeah, started working with her and everything, and was able to eventually take her into schools and out in the public. She was an amazing cat. So that's what started the ex-pets being thrown on us and us taking them in. And shortly after that is when we became nonprofit.
Wow. So when did you like have your first property where you've got animals in cages and
Well, we started at Jungle Adventures. That's where I kept some of my animals. I had a couple panthers at that time, the cougar panther mix. I had a small tiger and a jaguar, and then the raccoon and that kind of stuff. So that started at Jungle Adventures, and then when we became nonprofit, we were renting property not far from there. So that's when we left there and started, building on a different property. So that was in Christmas, Florida.
Who is your first big cat?
That would have been Tecumseh. That was my panther. So
Okay.
that was the first one.
And
So
I know you got, so you're going to tell a story about Maya, but when did you get Maya, your jaguar?
um I had had Tecumseh for a little bit, and then I believe I'm trying to remember now the order. I think it was Bahl-Shoy, the tiger that came next, and then right after that, the jaguar. And the jaguar was actually kind of like, people in the cat industry knew me because I had a jaguar, but it was in a weird sense because when I took her in, the situation was she was born at a roadside zoo, and her parents, they had to separate the babies from the parents, and the black jags were all taken by zoos immediately, and nobody wanted the little spotted one. And so right after she was pulled, I was asked to take care of her till they could find somebody to take her. And when I found out who was going to take her, it was somebody that had a reputation for, if he couldn't handle them, he'd make rugs out of them.
Oh my God.
So as soon as I heard that, I'm like, how much money is he offering? I came up with the money. I bought her out from under him. Every big cat person and all said, you're crazy. She's going to eat you alive. She's going to kill you. You can't work a jaguar and everything. Then a little after that, the Jacksonville Jaguars started. She became their first little mascot, and everybody wanted to buy her. So, but she was a learning experience. She was the most unique cat. I had never worked a jaguar before, and I learned very quickly what people meant, because they have a very possessive nature. But she and I had a bond that I've never seen a big cat be able to control that protective, possessive, wild side to them. But she did. When she would start to get possessive, she would hold her ground and give me the opportunity to get the hell out of the way.
Wow.
So, but she also was very well trained. I trained her. This was at Jungle Adventures when I first was training her. I had people buying annual admissions because they wanted to come in and watch me train her and the one panther. She was amazing. I taught her to stop within 4 feet of me and automatically lay down, which if she got possessive over something, that was very handy because all I'd have to say is lay down and back up, and she would hold it until I could get out of the way. So she was an exceptionally trained animal. And in fact, we worked with the BBC. They did a documentary with us, and it was because they called all over the United States, and everybody says you'll never find a workable jaguar, and they needed one. And they came across a picture of me and her and called me and said, well, is she workable? And I'm like, yeah, what do you want her to do? And they gave me a list, and I'm like, well, she can already do all that. So she was an amazing animal, and she was kind of like my thing where it got me respect from even the big cat trainers that didn't think women should be doing this.
Oh my God, that's so crazy. I love that story because it says so much about just you and how you train and this bond that you had with these animals and how they respond to you. And that kind of leads me to my next thing. It's like you took Kathleen's level 1 and level 2 classes in 2001 when we came. And it was really fun because I remember after the level 1 class, you said, I've been doing Reiki. I just didn't know it was called this. And so
Right.
can you talk a little bit about like what characteristics of that made you go, yeah, I'm already doing this.
Yeah, it was really funny because I didn't think it was a thing. I thought it was something that I did, instinctively and everything. But yeah, for instance, the Jaguar Maya, I used my instinct on that, but also I did the mindfulness, the in the present thing. And if I could see her kind of going off the rails on something, then I was able to just take a step back, calm myself, give her space and let her calm herself. um and yeah, when you guys were doing it here and I was learning about it and everything, I was like, yeah, with a lot of the animals that come in messed up and everything, first thing I do when I have the time is to sit down right by them and just put myself in a calm state and imagine myself a certain way, a certain color, certain whatever. I give them that space, but I allow them to come into it like what you guys do. And I don't try to push myself on them. And I think that's where a lot of people mess up, is they try to push themselves on the animal, saying, you need my help, you know, this is what we're going to do and all. And I take that time and that space to get a read on the animal and just kind of feel what they've been through or what they're going through, understand that they've been through some stuff that I don't even know about probably, and just be calm and be mindful and just share the space with them. Just let them come to me. So yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing. That could be taught at all. It's just an instinct I had. And yeah, because going back to the big cat trainer and all, like I said, the early European male trainers were very heavy-handed, not just with the animals, I hate to say. So I pretty much wanted to do exactly the opposite of who they were and what they were doing, giving that dominant thing, that dominant energy off. And I've said it for years, I hate to say it, but most of the people that work best with animals are women, because I think women become their nurturers by nature. And I think we multitask better. I think we can read situations better, faster under most circumstances. So yeah, I think part of that came learning what not to do from dominant personalities like that, and then just over the year seeing that it does work. When an animal comes in stressed and all, you can de-stress them by just being there and just, you know, not forcing yourself.
Oh, that's such great advice for all of us. And it's why we're here to learn this. You have a really great story about mindfulness with Bahl-Shoy. So if you could just share who Bahl-Shoy was and what happened to you.
Yeah, Bahl-Shoy, I had him since he was a cub. He was my baby. He was a woman's cat for sure. A lot of times he followed me around like a puppy dog. He was huge. He was like 700 pounds at his best. And yeah, there was one day I was in his area. He was laying down on a platform. I was brushing his hair. He loved to have his hair brushed. And a couple of the guys came up to talk to me. And so I was in next to him, brushing him, not at that point paying attention to him, but talking to them. Well, he got pissed. He turned around and looked at me, and I can tell by the look on his face, he was basically saying, you know, excuse the language, but you just fucked up. So normally when I'm in with him and all that, it's all about him. It's all the tension on him. And the fact that I was talking to guys, which he didn't like men to begin with, and the fact that, you know, mom's attention is somewhere else, he turned around, looked at me, just sprinted. I started backing up because I knew I screwed up. He sprinted off the thing and within one jump had me against the wall. And he was standing over me. I literally was looking in his chest. He was that tall. So I just stood there. I had to, one thing working big cats, you have to have that mindset, be calm, don't overreact, don't, you know, just go to your happy place and be mellow. So I was looking in his chest, and I was pretty positive, knowing him the way I knew him, he was not going to hurt me. He was just proving a point. But it was kind of funny after I got out of there, the guys were like shaking. They were like, we didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to do and all. And I'm like, well, staying the hell out of the way was the best thing to do. Right. But I didn't know this at the time. Travis actually said that it looked like half my body disappeared. And I didn't know that Bahl-Shoy even had his mouth on my shoulder. And when I took my shirt off, I only had one tiny, tiny bruise, like nothing. But I didn't even know he had his mouth on me. And all of a sudden, his cage was connected to our Jaguar Maya's cage. And apparently, unbeknownst to me, she jumped up and actually held onto the bars, got in his face, and backed him off, like totally screwed him up in the head. Like he was 10 times bigger than her, but she's a force to be reckoned with, and apparently got in his face, and that's when he got down and walked away. So I didn't even know that because, of course, I was just in his chest looking at all this fur. I had no idea what was going on around me. I was just like, I need to stay calm and just be ready to get out. So yeah, that was that story. That was interesting, and that taught me a lesson. So lesson learned. Never did that again. So
Oh my God. Yeah. And I mean, luckily, Bahl-Shoy was so sweet and he wasn't going to hurt you. But I remember I think when we came, it was either 2011 or 2012, where that one girl was on a cell phone in a lion cage and she got attacked. And that's when you shared that story with us. It's like, yeah, you cannot be distracted when you're with these animals. And we talk about that and we teach that, but it could really literally mean your life if you're not.
it could. And I don't know if I ever told you this other story with Lola. When I was going through some bad personal situations, I was like, I was doing most of the feeding at the time. I was tired. I was emotionally drained and all. And I was reminded of being present at the moment. And the reason I was reminded that was because of Lola. I walked in and I went to feed her. And normally, she goes up on her table when I tell her to, and she stays there and everything. But this one particular situation, she wasn't listening to me, which I thought was weird. And she kind of went back to the back side of her cage instead of up on her table. And I'm like, all right, that's weird, but whatever. And like I said, I was emotionally just spent at the time. And I walked in and she started stamping her feet. And I didn't get very far and I walked back out. And it all of a sudden hit me that I needed to calm my ass down. And as soon as I stood there and grounded myself, she stopped with the feet stomping. She stopped with the aggressive huffing that she does and everything. It totally stopped. But I had to ground myself and remind myself, I can't walk in there distracted or with this crazy energy. So I had to back myself down, calm myself down. And the next day, I walked up and I still had that kind of energy going on, but instantly I grounded myself before I walked in, totally fine. So that, just reinforced what I learned before that I consciously was not thinking about or remembering. So
Yeah, that's so important because, and we're talking about a bear, and we're obviously not going to be going in with a bear, but we can imagine how our energy affects dogs and cats when we're not paying attention, and they can't really hurt us, so we're not really focused on being better for them. And so this is a really good example of why we always have to be watching. They feel it immediately.
right.
But
And I've been following somebody on Instagram that's a dog trainer. And a lot of the times he's showing people with their own dogs how your energy level, the dogs look to you as being the leader. And if you're stressed out, they're going to be stressed out on odd high alert and be more aggressive towards other people or other animals. So yeah, it's not just wild animals, it's domestic animals, it's anything, and you can even approach people in that regard too. If somebody's going through a tough time and, you're not in a peaceful place, you may not want to go up to them and just give them some space or whatever, just, because it affects people too, your mood. So
Yeah.
I know crappy mood and I talk to you, I'm in a much better mood later. So
We have that effect. We have that way of doing that for each other.
yeah.
So let's just talk a little bit about how you are open to animal Reiki and how the animals react to the classes when we come. You know, we've been coming a really long time. So now they know us and they know the energy. They may not know the students, but they know, they understand. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about what that means to them.
Yeah, they definitely know you and Kathleen. And when you guys come out, they kind of kiss up and they could be laying far away, but then they'll come up knowing you guys and everything. But yeah, after the class and after you guys leave, it's very peaceful for about a week. Everybody is chilled out and just totally mellow. So it does affect them quite a bit. And that's why I'm so happy to have you guys out here. I wish you guys could be out here all the time because there are times we all need it out here. So, especially after a storm or something. But yeah, they're always very relaxed after you guys leave and in a peaceful place.
Yeah, and that's why if anybody is in Florida and you're close to Kristen, she needs volunteers, and volunteering with Reiki is such a great thing to offer the animals. I remember when I taught, I think it was the level 3 last year, and I came up to the house, it was like 9 o'clock or not quite 9. And everybody, it was so quiet, it was eerie, it was like spooky. And I came up to the house, and even you were like, had slept in, you're like, I don't know what it is, but we're all just out because the energy was so strong. And that's
Right.
what's so cool about it, because you go and the whole property becomes just so quiet and nice. And so we're so grateful to you. And I know that you also had another person, Kevin, who also was there,
Yeah.
who offered Reiki too.
Yeah. He was kind of when I don't know, when things got out of control with me, he would put me in my place by just calming me down. So yeah, and he would help me ground myself if I was like all over the place. Yeah, he was great for that.
Yeah. So for those of you who have gone to care before, he was the catalyst. So you see the little flag and it says cat catalyst. Sadly, Kevin passed away unexpectedly last year, right, Kristen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, so how let's just talk a little bit. You do all this care for all these animals. You have what, 200 animals, I think,
Yeah,
more. And how do you care for them? Like how do you get money to care for them?
that's the big problem now. In fact, it's not just a problem at our sanctuary. I have never, in all the years I've been doing this, I've never seen anything like this. I follow a bunch of people. I have a bunch of friends on Instagram at this point, that we all follow each other. We all stay in contact. I've helped a few of them get their nonprofit and figure out how to do certain things. Um, and we are all hurting right now. Like I've never seen so many of them doing fundraisers. Even the ones that didn't really initially need it are looking for help on specific projects. So I don't know if it's the upcoming election. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if, okay, I got to ground myself right now. I don't know if I told you I may lose Kelly because I can't pay her. So, yeah, it's been rough.
I'm so sorry, Kristen. I am so sorry. And it's so hard right now. And it's not that hard for other people because there's so much money out there. There is so much money out there, but yet people
Yeah.
donating. And to lose Kelly, just so all of you know, Kelly has been on staff for quite a few years. And for Kristen not to be able to pay her, that's huge. So if you are thinking about, or like, you know, a lot of corporations, if you're working and you donate, they'll match your donation. Just even $25 to Kristen, then getting $50, every little bit helps because she's constantly getting animals. They're constantly coming through. Thankfully, she gets a lot of food donated, so that helps carry through. Yeah, and sanctuaries are suffering every day, everywhere. It's so true, Diane. It's a crisis.
It's so frustrating because I think I've said this before. You have people like the Kardashians that buy shoes for $6,000. Come on, there's a lot of good sanctuaries. There's not just animals, but people. There's a lot of good nonprofits out there. And to see these people wasting money, It's just
God,
sickening. It
that's
could be life and death for either a person or an animal, and yet they're spending it on worthless shit, basically. That, it's just frustrating.
it is. So if any of you know somebody who could be an angel donor or anything for Christin, it's, what she does is completely private. So this is another thing I wanted to address is that you're not open to the public. And I know for some of us who watched, or I only watched one episode, but if you saw the Tiger King, you saw Carol Baskin's cat rescue, which she no longer has, and she opened it to the public. Now, she opened it to the public. You can make a lot of money by exploiting your animals to the public. But if you watch Tiger King or you see any of her videos, her animals are completely stressed out. And so I want you to talk a little bit about why you don't open up to the public.
Yeah, we're actually we're open to the public by appointment. So I've always done it by appointment because that way we can pick and choose when we want to be open, and the animals aren't subjected to people coming through every single day like a typical zoo or place like that. Our animals actually enjoy having people out because it's not a constant everyday in their face situation. So they actually have as much fun as the people do, seeing new people and all, but it is all by appointment. It's all a guided tour. And that way the people are actually learning something. Like, I love going to zoos. I've been to hundreds of zoos. I love the factual plaques and stuff like that. But I mean, you're learning something, but it's so much more when somebody can ask somebody a question. Or like in our case, it's rescue animals. It's not like zoo animals that are born to be in zoos. So we can talk to these people, tell the story of why the animals are there, not just the basic information on that type of animal. And it gets people more engaged and more wanting to be involved and understanding things a little more, and hopefully having more of a kind heart out there in everyday life. So yeah, it's just some of the things I've seen are unbelievable, but that's why, we do guided tours and everything. We are doing a special open house the first weekend in November, but that's a once a year thing that we do where we open it to the public. But even then, we're going to have our volunteers stationed everywhere so people can ask questions, and we do have signs up, but we do have people that can answer questions and all, and it's a single weekend, and the animals usually have fun. But like I said, it's because it's not happening all the time. So it's a big difference from like a zoo, or Travis and I just went to Animal Kingdom not long ago because he works there part-time, so we get in free. But the day we went, you hardly saw any animals, and it was kind of weird where our animals, come right up. So they like to be seen and interact.
Well, and they trust you too. They trust that they're safe. And that's a huge difference, I think, with other animals. And one thing I want to also comment on too is that, yeah, you do guided tours, but you also like volunteer, you have them come out for free. Like, the women from domestic abuse and their children, you had the police force come out. These are all free just to educate people. And sometimes like for the police force, I remember it was just like, give them a decompression. You have the emotional support animals like the skunks, and they got to hold them, and it was, I mean, why don't you comment on that, on how huge that was for them?
Yeah, they that was the SWAT team, and they yeah, they have some tough days out here. But yeah, that gives them a chance to just get out and relax. And like you said, holding the skunks, we've got, as far as I know, the only therapy skunks, and everybody's, is it like a certified dog? And I'm like, well, you can't certify a skunk right now. There's no way to certify them. But yes, we've got 4 skunks, 3 out of the 4 we've hand raised, and we can hand them off to anybody, including children. And it kind of makes me laugh how into the skunks that the police were. They were all passing them around and cuddling with them and wanting to take them home and all that. And yeah, we have certain animals that we've raised specifically to do that. And In fact, we're working with a couple that does social media, and they're trying to raise more money for us to be able to develop that program a little more. I just redid a tiger area that we haven't used in a while, and I've got 3 house cats in there that are real personable, that are going to be used for people with domestic violence and all that, just to go in and hang out and, just chill out and be with the animals one-on-one and have a good quiet experience. So, and especially with autistic and special needs kids, it's the funniest thing. We've had schools that we've worked with in the past. The one unfortunately shut down, but we we have an A team that we work with. We call them the A team because we can hand them off to anybody. And it's not just the cute and furry and fuzzies. We have a gator that's a part of the A team. We have snakes that are a part of the A team. I had a tegu at one point that was a part of the A team. And it's so funny because there were certain kids, certain autistic kids that were not high functioning, that were barely functioning. One was not verbal at all. Yeah, and you give them the animals, you let them pet the animals, and it's so funny because some prefer just the furry ones, but there are others that just prefer the reptiles. And tactfully or tactile, it's a totally different thing, and it's kind of interesting to see what the kids gravitate to. So it's good that we don't just have, like, no offense to dogs or anything, but we don't have just those type animals. We also have the reptiles that the kids can interact with. It's fascinating, to see them want to cuddle a snake or a gator sometimes. It's very interesting. And we've had a few that never make a sound, but yet they were making sounds and kind of laughing when they were doing it. So it really made a difference to them. So that's part of why we're doing what we're doing and why we're trying to develop this a little further.
Yeah, and hopefully you can get grants for that, although that requires a grant writer. It's just so hard to have a rescue because there's so many barriers to getting money flowing in. So, hopefully all of you, if you are thinking about a charity to donate to, especially on Giving Tuesday, please think about care. And so I want to give people enough time to ask questions, but you also had somebody special that you wanted to bring.
Yeah, yeah, she's on the floor over here sleeping. Let me see if I can get her. Her name is Sassy. Hey, come here. Oh, there's the Sassy girl. You guys see her?
Yeah. Oh, she's so cute. So she is a bobcat?
She is a Florida native bobcat. Yeah, you might see her head trembling a tiny bit. She has what's called cerebellum hypoplasia, which is why she can't go back to the wild. And to kind of back up on why we have her, she came a friend of mine, and she was found in somebody's garage under a tool bench, and she was pretty much almost totally dead. She had a respiratory infection. At that time, that they didn't know that she had this condition. After she was treated for the respiratory, they were having a real tough time getting her to take formula, and just everything was a tough time. The rehabber did a phenomenal job with her, bringing her back and everything. And then the rehabber called me and said that I knew her very well. And she says, I can't keep a carnivore. That's, not what I do. She specializes in little animals like raccoons, deer, bunnies, what you would consider the little forest animals, not a carnivore. So she asked me if I could take her. And I said, go ahead, get the paperwork done. We had to do special paperwork because she's a Florida native, and we had to get 2 vets to approve that she couldn't be released, plus the rehabber a letter, plus Fish and Game to approve that she could stay with us and not go to the wild. And yeah, this condition, it doesn't hurt them. I did a lot of research. She's learned to deal with it. what the condition does is her head every once in a while bobbles, kind of shakes, not all the time, but when she gets really excited. And then when she's running around, sometimes her back legs give out on her. And she actually has learned to adapt to that, where if it's feed time, she is very fast. You gotta beat her to where you're going with that food, because that's when her possessive nature comes in. But she's actually learned to hop like a rabbit. And by doing that, her back legs don't give out on her, and she's very fast. So she just started climbing on the sofa twice yesterday. I put her on the floor, and then she got back up on the sofa. So now I have dog beds around the sofa so she doesn't fall off and hurt herself. But yeah, she was a little unexpected baby that is here to stay. So we named her Sassy Girl. Oh, I can't hear you. Hold on, I lost sound.
I had it on mute. But one of the wonderful things about when you take a class at CARE, 25% of the proceeds, and so when I donate to Christin, it's 25% off the top goes to Christin to support what she does. So when you take a class, you're actually giving back to what she's doing. And we always have such a great time. And I know Karen's on the call, and I don't know, Karen, if you want to say anything, or Kelly, or I thought Alice was here too. If any of you want to say anything about your time at CARE, just unmute and you can go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I would love to say something. First of all, Christin, thank you so much for all you do. I took teacher training there in 2014 and 18, I believe. And I had some of the most incredible experiences. I learned a lot, especially from Toshi.
Yeah.
Remember, Toshi was a black leopard. And I'll just tell one little quick story, because I remember Kathleen told us we were all doing, this is level 3. And so we were all supposed to be doing different exercises and things, meditations with the animals. And of course, I had my camera. I was so excited, so many amazing animals. So I went up and sat outside of Toshi's enclosure and started my Reiki, started the meditation. And I remember in time, she actually came out and started to like lay down and actually roll over and relax a little bit. I was so shocked. I peeked, and then I got out my camera to take a picture of her. And she immediately, because I popped out, I was no longer present, went away. And so then I thought, okay, I see she's teaching me right now. And I immediately went back into my meditation. I completely forgot the camera and everything. And she had the grace to come back out and roll over and just be with me. And I will never forget that experience. I really had a special bond with her. I got to see her twice. So it was going to make me cry. But she was amazing. She was amazing. So many of the animals there are so amazing. You learn so much. The snakes I got to hold, I think was Blondie. I'm going back on my memory, Christin. I'd have to help me.
Blondie.
Blondie, and I couldn't wait to hold her, and just so many different things. We also got I would highly recommend any of you all, if you're going to take a class or learn. I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so I completely flew out there, and there's nothing quite like power animals and animals that are in the wild to learn from and to experience them. And I would highly recommend it. You will learn so much, and CARE is such an amazing organization. And I know I'm kind of going on and on, but I have lifelong memories from there and lifelong lessons that I learned.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing that, because it's so true. It just changes you, and you will never forget those experiences. And I love Toshi's example. I was just sharing that in class this morning. So thank you for reminding me of that. It's like, oh my gosh, that was funny. Yeah, it's like, no, but animals love us and they come back, got to teach us. So thank you so much, Karen. I don't know, Kelly or Alice, if you have something. And I love that little Sassy is at one point was just listening to Karen, just like,
Yeah.
Kelly, yeah.
She's a very clever girl. She catches on quick to things, and yeah.
That's so cute. Look at her. Kelly, did you want to share?
Yes, I did. Good to see you, Kristen. I've been thinking
Good.
about you. And I mean, CARE is just such an amazing place and so full of magic, I guess. And watching how you care for the animals there, Kristen, is just really heartwarming and impressive. I just can't get over what you can get done.
Well, because I have volunteers. I have volunteers ever. Otherwise, I'd never get anything done. So,
yeah. But,
yeah.
but you're a strong leader for them. So take the credit, take that that compliment because you deserve that.
Thank
And it's just there are so many wonderful animals and so many stories that I have from being there that I can't even there's too many. I've been there a few times and
Been there a lot because you like World Animal Reiki Day, you were there a few times. You taught with me last year. You've taken at least 3 or 4 classes. You've been there quite a bit.
yeah, I've been there quite a bit. I used to go pretty regularly when I was going to Florida. But the story that stands out for me is the one was where I was doing teacher training and I was pairing up with my friend Jean, and we were she was sitting in front of Ngozie's enclosure before you got moved to the pond area. And I was practicing Reiki with Jean. And I remember just suddenly being overcome by this feeling of stillness that I have never had before. And he was right at the fence with his eyes kind of, almost closed, but it was really clear that he was completely present and knew everything that was happening around him, even though he wasn't disturbed by our presence or anything, but it was, I know I was getting that feeling from him because it's not anything I've ever experienced before. And so it was just sort of like oh yeah, here we are. This is what stillness really means. This is what it really feels like because he had it down. So whenever I go there, I like to visit him and spend some time sharing with him. And well, the other really quick one is
But just really quickly, Ngozi is a huge crocodile. So
yes.
for those of you who don't know, he's a very crocodile. And
from one extreme to the other, I sat down in the chair one morning and Kristen plopped Brutus in my hands. I didn't see it coming. And I was like, oh my God, I think you got a picture of it. I was just like, I didn't know what to
Brutus
do.
was a little alligator, and Kristen, maybe we'll have some time. Kristen could share Brutus's story, but yeah, that
So funny. And so that was the other thing. It was like, now I know what grounded means. I am in my seat. I am not moving and I'm at full attention, full awareness. So the reptiles, surprisingly, who I never thought of as teachers for me, because I'm like a warm, fuzzy cat person, like that kind of message, but oh my gosh, they were powerful. I'll never forget it.
yeah. Well, what was really funny, and so remember last October when we went, so Ngozie's got a big enclosure at the front of the property. So he's a big crocodile, he's got a big swimming area, and Ngozie literally is afraid of nothing. And there was a bear. Kristen had gone to dinner with us, and when she came back at dusk after class, there was a bear that she saw running off. And so the next morning we got to see the bear tracks and everything. And we were all laughing because we were thinking, oh my God, Ngozie's not scared of, like the other animals might have been scared of some bear, but Ngozie's like, please jump over the fence. Please. But he's really an incredible teacher. But thank you for that, Kelly. There's so many great memories, right? Just, it's such a special place for us. So Kristen, do you want to tell people, so Brutus is now big, we can't hold him anymore. But do you want to tell them Brutus's story of how you rescued Brutus? Because that's a pretty funny story, huh, Kelly? It's like crazy.
Yeah, he's how big do you think Brutus is now? About 4.5 feet. So if we had to, we could still hold him. He still comes when I call him and the whole bit. But yeah, when he was a baby, I was at it was at Jungle Adventures, actually, to be honest. Jungle Adventures is attached to a gator farm. And Brutus is a runt, which means he'll still grow, but he won't get as big as a normal gator. Well, the runs to the farm guys mean nothing. There's no use for them. They're not going to get big enough to call out or anything. So I happened to be there when they threw him in a pen with bigger gators, and they were basically just feeding him out. And so I couldn't believe first that they would do that in front of anybody. And then I just jumped in and got him out. And yeah, he was injured.
2 gators to get him.
Yeah, well, Travis is in the corner making comments over here. Yeah, I had to like sit on one gator to get him to let go, and most of the gators scattered when I jumped over the fence. But yeah, I had to deal with 2 gators that weren't going to give him up easy. So there's Travis. So yeah, that's yeah. So Brutus came home to my 1-bedroom apartment. I had a little cage set up with a little pool, and he was raised around all kinds of different animals. He doesn't know what he is. I'm not going to tell him. Walks a harness. I haven't done it in a while, but I'm sure if I put him on a harness, he'd do the same as he always has. Every winter he would come in the house and hang out with all the house cats, the dogs, whatever. There's one day I couldn't find him, and then I realized my little dog was missing, and they were in the closet cuddled up together. So yeah. And several of us, like Kelly, myself, Travis, we've all taken showers with Brutus, when he's been in the house. He can get in and out of the tub, and he goes to one side, we go to the other, no big deal. So yeah, that's Brutus.
Brutus is amazing. Now we used to be able to hold him in in the meet and greet. So whenever you go to Karen and do a class, Christin is so generous. She does a meet and greet at the end of the last day of class. And so you get to meet the skunks, you get to hold the skunks, you get to hold, well, now it's Gilly, is the little alligator, but it used to be Brutus. And there's, what's the little snake's name? That little snake is so sweet.
Monty.
Well, there's several now.
Oh,
Yeah,
there is?
Yeah, there's Monty Python, there's Peaches, there's Fergie.
It was Fergie. Fergie was the one that I held. Yeah. Yeah. And just amazing. So many wonderful, you get such a rich experience at Care. And so someone made a great idea. So Monica Hudin is on the call, and she works at a shelter in Croatia, and it has like 500 dogs. And I'm so sorry I'm late on this, you guys, but I promise in Friday's email it will be in there. So we decided that every Wednesday morning at 7:00 a.m., no matter where you are, no matter what time zone, that we would just do a short little Reiki session, prayer, whatever that is, to send good energy to Monica and her animals. And Anne actually made the suggestion that we could all do that for you. So I'm suggesting every morning every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., we all send really good thoughts to Christin, to Care, to the animals at Care, to everyone there, to help support them. And when you're supported in that kind of way, miracles happen. We've seen it with animals. We can see it with Christin and also with Monica's shelter. So I'm just going to put a little thing for each of these in Friday's newsletter. Just every Tuesday morning, 7 a.m., every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. And it's a great way to continue your practice and to create a weekly practice for yourself. I think someone suggested doing it monthly, but for me, monthly, I'll forget. I think if we do it weekly, it's creating something and a really great way for us to support Christin. So Christin, I know you have to go. We've kept you such a long time, and I really appreciate you being on here and sharing your great stories. But is there one thing that you want people to take away from your experiences, or one thing you'd like them to know?
Yeah, just be kind to each other, be kind to others, keep yourself grounded, keep your energy. I know everybody has hard times and everything, but try to focus on some of the good. So yeah, that's basically it. Do your best. I've got a friend that always says, serve others, and he means that by good wishes and everything. So yeah, both animals and people, we all need it at this point.
Absolutely. We're going into a tough year. And look at Sassy. Sassy. It's like, how can you be sad when you got little Sassy right there? That's so cute. So again, if you can donate to CARE, please do. They need the money, just like a lot of struggling, but CARE is really near and dear to our hearts. And we've seen where the money goes. And believe me, it doesn't go to Christin. She's not buying any Burka bags. It all goes to the animals. And the animals are so well cared for at CARE. They are absolutely such a joy to work with because they are so happy. And that's because of Christin and Travis and everyone else that volunteers there. So thank you so much, Christin. Love you.
Love you too. Thanks.
We will let you go.
Thank you, Christin.
Thanks.
Bye.
Hope to have you soon.
Bye. So just before we leave, Mary Ellen said, off topic, but help save migrating birds by turning off outside lights and lights near windows at nights. So that was a really nice thing. Yay. And then Monica said, this was such an interesting meeting. Thank you. And Catherine said, thank you. So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks to Christin. And please think about her. And again, I'm going to send out a thing every Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. We really want to send positive energy to Christin, to CARE, and to everything they're going through, because like most, look at little Sassy, like most sanctuaries, they are struggling, but Christin and CARE are just so near and dear to us. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you being here. This is a really incredible talk with Christin, and we're so lucky. So goodbye, everyone. Have a great day. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.